Hi, guys, and welcome to the Gin and Tonic Show. We help Muslims and non Muslims to handle Islam in the 21st century. My name is Mustafa, and this is my co host in the nick of time. If you wish to talk about Islam, the ideology, you have come to the right place. We cover current Islamic news, Islamic scripture, some crazy comments, and a weekly topic about Islam to examine, critique, and analyze. If this is not enough Islam for you, please drop by our Discord to discuss any further questions about Islam. We condemn any form of discrimination, violence, misogyny, slavery. However, we do embrace free speech and criticism if it's factual and correct. Thank you for stopping by and enjoy the Gin and Tonic Show.
Hello, guys. Welcome to this new attempt that I'm doing to rejuvenate the channel. Um, hello, Culture Jenny. Welcome to the comments. If you want to jump in, feel free. The link's in the comments. So basically, to rejuvenate the channel, bring in more viewers to increase our viewership counts, I'm going to be doing a midweek reaction or discussion or whatever we want to. It's not going to be as long as the original show of 2 hours. This is more so of me to vent and not kill anyone at work. Take my rage out on the audience rather than my boss who pays me money but still does, fun things. But yeah. Um, so today I actually saw an interesting video. I want to react to it. So let me just pull that up here. And anyone who has any comments or wants to put
to another episode.
So let me just add that here. So Jubilee, I know some of their contents are human scum. Let me just change it like this. It's easier to see. So I know some of them are human scum, right? So it's not the best. But I personally love this video here because it does bring a kind of like honesty and discussion, right? So I'll play it and we'll go through and hopefully we can react well to this.
I'm Ian, and stick around at the end. We're going to talk a little bit with you guys.
Believing men
sure.
and believing women. Same level.
No, disagreed. I
Same
have,
level.
in the court of
Brother,
law, the
no.
Quran explicitly states
I'm sorry.
2 female witnesses carry the weight of 1 male, and that's why I
Whoa, this guy was honest. Nice.
stood over there.
Oh, so when I meant human scum, I mean some of their videos makes me want to cry, right? Yeah. So it's not like the people that are running it that are human scum. It's their scum. It's some of the videos are pretty trash, right? So I'm like, whenever I see a Jubilee video, I'm like, I'm scared. But yeah, it's more so of the some of the content. All right, so
I pray 5 times a day. 3, 2, 1.
all of them should be going to the strongly agree. Oh,
I wish I was there with you guys. Like it's honestly just gets really hard. Like it's just 5 times a day and it's like spread throughout the day. We all live like young professional lives and it gets kind of in the way. And
If I could quantify it,
Yeah.
I'm averaging
oh, same thing for me. Like I understand these guys, right? Because I'm supposed to. So when I was practicing Hindu, I had to wear the genjam, or like that line. I had to do my daily prayers and everything, and like I couldn't do it. I was working professional. I was working support jobs, right? They called me all odd hours of the night. So like I totally understand people where they're like, yo, I can't spend 15 minutes to do prayers. Like, bro, I gotta work. I gotta go to class. So it shouldn't be held against them for not being able to do that.
About 3 out of 5 prayers. I think I will find myself in prayer more when I'm in desperation. It's not something that's subjective. I know we should be all praying as a requirement.
I just want to say it takes a lot of guts to be honest and say that. I honestly believe that if you feel it in your heart that you have a strong relationship with God, God will have mercy on you with whatever you're dealing with. So
Being on this line doesn't mean it's like a piece of cake
Exactly.
to do the 5 days.
I can already tell this lady's going to be a bit of a problem in terms of when other people are talking, but snapping. I mean, like, hell, yeah. So I think she's either super extroverted, which can be a good thing in a discussion like this, or it can be a bad thing. So yeah, and considering the discussion that they showed in the promo, it's leaning towards the bad side for me. Not judging. If anyone comes to me as racist, you can't tell with this light here, but I'm brown, so eat that.
Prayers. It is a struggle. It's a challenge. I was working in a corporate environment where I could not comfortably find a space, so I'd have to go pray in the car or in the parking lot.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? At least for me, I don't need like a requirement. Oh, there's supposed to be no prayer or like, because like, at least before, like, what most people don't understand if you go to Tamil Nadu, all right, in South India, they have fucking temples for Bollywood actors, right? They have a temple for Rajnikant, an Indian actor. So so in Hinduism, no one gives a shit what god you're praying to. Hello, Culture Jenny. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, so this video was somewhat nice in terms of like it had a good recommendation, and like, so the divide thing, they usually do it on like flat earth and such, which is really good in a sense but also bad in many senses, because some of the people that they bring aren't usually the smartest people to defend their field. But yeah, so do you have any comments on what you saw so far?
No, these people look just like everyday Muslims, pretty much.
Yeah, they're pretty much like essentially millennials, people like you or me, essentially. Average Joes. So yeah, just anytime you want me to pause, let me know and I'll pause and we can discuss that.
No, we
So
can
it-
continue.
Yeah.
It is a challenge, but yeah.
Islam promotes violence. 3, 2.
So what would you say to this culture, Jenny, or to that question?
Sorry, which question?
So they asked so essentially the concept is so they would ask you a question and you would move to either strongly disagree, somewhat
Yeah.
disagree, neutral, or strongly somewhat agree and strongly agree. So what would your answer be to the question, does Islam promote violence?
I mean, I would probably just stand in the middle because, as far as I see it, it must be in comparison to other religions.
Yeah. Like for the violent stuff, I can probably bring up quotes from the Quran or the Hadiths that say, "Oh, kill the non-believers or the kufars and the jizya tax and such,
Yes.
the dhimmi tax." But then again, a lot of other religions also have such
Yeah, I
negative
mean,
sides as well.
seriously, you're a former Hindu, aren't you?
Yeah,
Your religion has literal war gods.
yeah.
Your former
So
religion.
yeah, so it's I think like, does it answering the question, does it promote violence? Yes, there's hadiths in there and chronic quotes that do promote it specifically. So yes, it does, but compared to every other religion does, and it's one of the reasons why I'm an atheist, right? Because I don't want to conform to either I'm a Buddhist, which still has extremists in it, or I'm an atheist at this point.
Yeah,
At least
I just see Islam kind of a violence question. I just see Islam not so much that it's much more violent than other religions. It's just that it has not reformed in the same way as most other religions.
Yeah. And it's somewhat like, I don't know whether to call it on a on a scale of like major world religions, I think it's somewhat on the newer side, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And
So
I
yeah,
mean,
it
if you
probably.
compare the Quran to the Old Testament, then I would say that the Quran is much softer.
But yeah, it's like comparing Jainism to Hinduism at that point, right?
I mean, the Old Testament, it's like a genocide of the genocide.
Yeah, it's not the most fun.
Oh, it's a
But
very
yeah,
fun. I think the Old Testament is fun to read, but it's not something that you
yeah,
would want to base your society upon.
yeah. It's a Game of Thrones. That's what I see. It's like all this. Yeah, it's not the most fun thing to be living under. But anyways, yeah, I'll continue playing. Let's see what the answers these guys bring are.
One.
Oh, this guy's standing right here. Let's see what his reasoning is.
We're not allowed to cut down trees during war. We're not allowed to hurt children and mothers. We're not allowed to hurt our own prisoners. And when people associate terrorism, something so...
All right, we need to talk about that. Here's a 24. So, what about the ability to get slaves, right? Because we had not. I'll link it in the description here. But Stops, the previous host of this channel, had an entire discussion with a guy who basically said war slaves are okay to take. They're wrong
Yes.
for other cultures, but only in Islam is it correct. And Stops, it hit Stops so hard that he actually stopped the show for 3 months, 3 to 4 months. So like,
Yes,
it's
slavery is allowed.
yeah, war slaves and others are still allowed, right? So what
Yeah.
she's saying, it's only a half truth. You have to if you have to show the full context here.
disgusting with Islam, it hurts me because ISIS targets Muslims more than they target anybody else.
And in the age of Google, there's no excuse. Like, if you don't know that Islam means peace, Islam means surrender, being a Muslim is one who submits their will to God.
Aslim Taslam.
Yeah, it doesn't mean peace. It means submission, right? So like that.
Yeah,
I like
but
how
I
they
mean,
also.
it literally the root, the word aslama has, due to how Arabic functions in how it creates meanings, it means to submit, but it also means to go where the peace are or create peace.
Yeah, and another thing is she also brought up the fact that there's Google, there's no excuse. Then there should be no excuse for you to read the whole context here,
Yeah, and
because
also know that there is a long tradition of justifying religious war.
yeah, because like it goes with most Abrahamic faiths, especially in even in Hinduism. This is one thing that people don't understand. Santana Dharma has an entire section dedicated for how to fight war. The Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita was told to
Yes.
Arjuna to push him to fight war. It's in every religion,
Yeah.
right? So it's not just one.
I had a crazy professor of Hinduology. I mean, she justified the most crazy shit. She justified, the burning of women, of widow women, human sacrifices, and all of these things.
Yeah, it's not the fun. Every book that's not written in modern standards is gonna seem far fetched to us. If you think it's all okay and use your current morality to whether it be a book that was written like the Bible being written 1600 years ago or with Quran being written
Oh,
1400 years
Mitty
ago or the
is in the
Bhagavad
comment
Gita.
section. Where
Oh,
is
Mitty.
Stop?
Stops
He is
and
not.
Rob. Yeah, we're the new hosts of the show. Or Mustafa and I. Today I'm just doing a midweek episode just to make more content and such. But yeah, it's whatever book the morality, let's say for the Bhagavad Gita, 350 BCE is when it was written, right? That the morality then is not the morality that we should be following now.
No. And it also feels so strange when you have Western. I've not mentioned her name, but when you have persons that justify the absolute most crazy things that are even illegal in India, and say that, oh, this was only, implemented due to colonial pressure. I don't know how
Yeah.
your society is, but I would still assume that most Indians are a little bit hesitant of accepting human sacrifice.
Yeah, like they're very hesitant. So like for these people here, what my main point was like, if they're trying to defend the morality of a book written 1400 years ago or 2000 years ago or 2500 years ago or whatever, it doesn't make sense for them because obviously the morality in which the book was written back then is going to be totally different than what it is now.
Yeah, it's written in an entirely different context and for an entirely different society.
Yeah, and to sit there with blindfolds and deny that certain things that you're not going to agree with exist is hypocrisy at its finest. And that's why I like the cast guy so far because he's actually being somewhat honest about some of these stuff, right? So, yeah, that's I really like the guy for doing that.
How is that violent? Like, at the end of the day, I feel like media is the one that has that hand and that stronghold causing folks to be that way or think that way.
I guess I literally listened to the prompts, does Islam promote violence? And I'm only speaking not from my personal perspective, from trying to understand how discussions about this religion can be used to defame it, to justify terrorism per se. When somebody says, and for the record, kill a non-believer,
Yeah, that was the line that I wanted to bring up as well, right? This was used in a war statement in the back in the day, right? When non-believers were attacking Medina and such, and that's the popular
Yes,
argument that they bring, right?
yes.
Yeah, but meaning it still promotes violence on that part. Just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Again, blinders, you got to remove those, right?
Yeah, but the thing is also that
acknowledge
it
that
becomes more
sentence.
complex
And if we're going to reach a conclusion and
after all, after the death of Muhammad, and he also did later campaigns after having defeated those those from Mecca. He did later campaigns, and there were also later campaigns with the caliphs and the Ridda Wars and such. So there were a lot of other things that happened too. That shows that offensive jihad was also totally okay. But I mean, it
Yeah,
was
and
back
like
in
they,
I mean, the rise of Islam is usually what marks the end of antiquity. So it was pretty much the earliest part of the Middle Ages.
yeah, and like I mentioned, the morality has changed quite a bit from that time. So obviously, when it was originally written, it was a different standard of morality than now, and we have to know that it exists and accept it. And whether you choose to believe the non-violent parts and just continue it in a spiritual path, or just leave it altogether, you got to make that decision. But sitting here and say that it doesn't exist is pretty, how would you say, ignorant,
Yeah,
for a
it's
lack of a better
ignorant.
word.
But I am actually on the subject. I'm actually seeing a lot of more scholars beginning to say that, oh, we need to reinterpret most of these problematic things as being because of the context where Muhammad lived. He did the best he could in that context. That
Yeah,
does not mean that you should do the same thing as him. Only that you should strive like he strived to do the best in his context.
yeah. Didn't the royal family of Saudi Arabia say something like that as well?
Yes. I mean, this is very complicated because there is an ongoing modernization and centralization process going on in Saudi. And reform of the, I wouldn't say really Wahhabi religion, but reform of Islam around there to be more amenable to more modern circumstances is a part of that.
Yeah, it's
But
if
it's
they can
very
modern.
top down,
Yeah.
which means that there is also a risk of backlash failure here.
Yeah, hopefully they can change it for the better. But yeah, I'll play it and we can see what the actual answer is that this guy's giving, or continue at least.
Oh, hello,
He's being
Cash.
very honest. Hello, Cash. Nice to meet you.
Oh,
Hello,
hello
Duda
to
Bites.
Solution with somebody who does think this way of us and our faith. We need to understand their argument thoroughly.
But
I disagree with what you just said.
Please.
I really do, because I read the Quran every day as a practice. And not once in 2019 have I yet gotten to a verse about violence. All of them are.
Oh, really?
Ayat was safe.
Let me just
to
search
be
it.
Ayat is safe? Should I quote?
Let's quote
No.
what. Let's check that right now.
Can you turn it up so that everyone can see it?
Yeah. So what's the quote that you're saying? Hello, Culture Ginny.
Just me is it's Surah Al-Tawbah, line 5.
So,
5th verse of the 9th surah.
9:25 or
No, 9:5.
oh 9:5. All right. All right, got it. So let me share my screen here to this lady. Hello,
And
hello. Yeah, so we got the verse right here. Then, when the sacred months have passed, slay the idolaters wherever you find them, and take them captive, and besiege them, and prepare for them each ambush. But if they repent, establish worship, and pay the poor Jew, then leave their way free. So, either they have to start believing in your worship, or you kill them.
Yes, but this is again a part of the conflict between Mecca and Medina. So they could use that excuse, but it does say "Faqtuluhu al-mushrikina," so kill them.
Yeah, so she was lying essentially.
Yeah, that's violence. Even if it might be argued to be justified violence, it's still violence.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, different morality, different time, right?
Yeah.
God, turn to God. God is with you. To me, that's
you
an
denying the
emotional
verses?
connection.
Okay, I understand.
That is an emotional connection to my Creator.
Sure.
And I'm not going to allow anybody to take that away.
I'll take the statement that you
Please.
gave. Kill the non-believers.
So, one disagreement I have: you can have your emotional connection, but if it gets to a point where you're clearly having ignorance about something, it's clearly like a scientist who doesn't want to see outliers in their data, right? Or analyze why an outlier exists. It's the same thing. It might be completely peaceful to you, but like, why are you denying that this violent statement exists? So yeah, I'll play it again.
At the time of the Holy Prophet, the Muslims were endangered. They were the
Correct.
minority, right?
That's what I'm saying.
So, but it doesn't necessarily mean that because we are in danger that whenever there's a non-believer, we kill them. What non-believer refers to are like the Meccans, or like the people that were actively going against Muslims and trying to harm us and stuff.
And I wanted this healthy discourse.
Yes, and
because I
agree
dwell
with you.
upon that other perspective. I did.
Yeah, no, and this guy's very fair, right? Because there are people that'll interpret it as the other side where we
It's
got
not
killed.
just this. It's rather in a hadith in the secondary source literature about the life of the prophet and his companions.
Yeah,
And there you find clearly that there are also happens other things which are violent and which are, outside of this conflict.
yeah. Anyways, I'll continue playing as well. Let's see what
And
else
also,
they have.
yeah.
I didn't grow up proud of those verses because I didn't understand them.
Yeah,
But
and
now that
several
I do have
times.
full understanding, I know that it's important to keep not a one-dimensional perspective, but not even accept the others, but thoroughly understand it.
The job should be mandatory. 3, 2, 1.
I have strong feelings. I just feel like it's a woman's right to cover if she.
So, on the discussion of a hijab, what would your opinion be, Culture Genie?
I actually think it's symbolism, and I know that certain women are forced to wear it, but there are also believing women that actually wear it by their own choice. And I think dying on the hill of trying to combat the wearing of it, like it was done in Turkey before Erdogan changed that, and in that is discussed about the more extreme forms of hijab, like the
The niqab or the burqa?
yeah, niqab and burqa, is that it does not actually matter. It's just a clothing article at its core, and
Yeah,
this is like chopping at the branches of the religion rather than discussing the core.
yeah. And for me, at least, if like you mentioned, there's a dichotomy, right? Women that are being forced to wear it and women that actually want to wear it. If you're
Yeah,
being forced to wear it, the people forcing you should essentially be punished for forcing you to do something with your body that you don't want to.
yeah,
But
but
if you make, yeah, but if you make the full-hearted choice to actually wear it, who am I to tell you not to? Right?
yeah, exactly. Then you're doing the same thing just in the opposite direction. And I think that you just create unnecessary additional hatred and hostility when you try to ban clothing, because clothing in themselves is not really dangerous in the same way that other parts of
Yeah.
Islam are.
And if you want to take it, and another point I want to bring up is for the countries that make it where so you have to wear the burqa or the extreme side. My counter argument is that I'm a minimalist or I'm a Buddhist or I'm a Jainist. I don't want any harm to be caused by what I wear. So I'll literally either put a leaf on my groin or walk butt naked because I don't want to hurt that tree. It's an equally, if I truly believe that, that's a valid reason to believe it. And I am walking around doing the exact opposite of what they're saying in terms of extremes. If they're going to have, and how they're going to feel about me is the same way someone else like me is going to feel about the burqa in a certain sense. So
Now
it's
I
in a
actually do think that in certain indecency laws are okay. So we have a certain level of forcing clothing is okay,
yeah.
but that's another discussion.
Yeah, it's like if if you're trying to be minimalistic, then yeah, or if you're trying to be like covering up or modesty can also mean just wearing sleeves until like your wrists, covering up till your neck, like wear a turtleneck, wear long pants and such. That's also covering up and showing humility. But if you're gonna say, "I forbid you from showing a strand of hair, or I'm gonna behead you," that's kind of shit. Because I can take that exact thing and say that my way of getting closer to God is being butt naked. And if you even put on a leaf over your groin, we're gonna kill you. That's the exact equivalent of what you're saying, of staying completely covered.
I would
It's an
disagree, but that's due to other reasons.
Yeah, because like the reason why I say this is that I've actually heard this argument from many naturalists where they're like, I didn't come with clothes, why do I got to be modest? It's not like does like is it mine special where I'm the only one that has this? No, everyone has their own body. That's human biology. Like, why should I be ashamed of it? This is an actual argument, and both sides seem just as absurd to me as an average person who's in the middle. And it's like if one is okay, then the other should be okay. But if the one is not okay, then the other should also not be okay. The truth or the reality or the situation should be somewhere in the middle. If you want to show humility, you cover up, but covering up to the extreme is just as bad as not covering up.
The only good argument I can see against more extreme covering, like the niqab, is that it hides your identity and makes other types of crimes more possible, and that there exist laws against masking your face.
Yeah. Yeah, and that also exists as well. This is also another argument where I heard where someone's like, my motorcycle helmet protects my life. It's very close to me and it's part of my identity. Why am I not allowed to wear it in an ATM, but someone else can wear a burqa? This is something I've also heard as well. It's not my personal belief, but I've heard this and I'm like, in that moment, I couldn't actually come up with any argument for that.
Because that's a reason that I actually think is legitimate. But the other argument about, being naked is that I think that actually being naked in such a way is actually rather unnatural, or rather not unnatural since we are born naked, but even hunter-gatherers usually have certain, codes of showing off that you are not aggressive towards another person. Being naked in our society kind of signals a sort of aggressiveness that makes other people uncomfortable on a level that I don't think even a niqab causes.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think it's region because in Toronto, at Church in Wellesley, we have an entire street dedicated to LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and queer, or in transgender community, where every building you'll see is a drag show. And then we also have Hanlon's Beach, which is a nudist beach as well. So I think Toronto itself is a very liberal area. So it might be something that the people that I talk to here the arguments that they make, I think, are from that kind of mindset. But yeah, it also region really does play into this and the culture that you're from.
Yeah. Should we go on?
And to tell a woman what to do with her body is totally against our Islamic principles. So,
being a guy here, I just made a really conscious decision to be like somewhat agree, because people don't understand that hijab is like a concept as far as like it's not just like the actual headscarf. Islam really promotes the idea of modesty, and that's how you get closer to God. And if you feel like having a headscarf is a way for you to get closer to God, then so be it.
100% agree with that, because it's not just a headscarf, it's your behavior, it's your personality, it's how you treat your friends and your neighbors. Yeah, for a lot of people, the process is build my courage, my bravery, my confidence, and then wear the scarf. For me, it was kind of reverse. I started with the scarf because I knew that I was not going to build that bravery unless I started wearing it. Because when you put it on, you start acting different, you start acting nicer, you're kinder, because now you're representing.
I don't need some cloth on me to tell me to be a nice person, right? My morality or someone's morality and a sense to help should not come from the article of clothing or some divine person telling you that if you don't help this person, you're going to burn in eternity. People who have some sort of medical disorder where they can't show empathy, that's when you literally have to put a punishment saying, I'll kick your ass for not helping someone. And that's essentially what she's saying, where it's the religious side. She needs this hijab or cloth to cover her to essentially start putting her into a path of being a good person. Can you not do that without covering? Is the scarf really necessary for you to do that, in a sense?
Yeah, but on the other hand, I actually think that many Muslims treat their scarves almost like Christians that bear the cross.
Yeah, and and that's my point, right? Like, why are you attributing your ability to show altruism to a supernatural being? Why does that supernatural being need to tell you to be kind to the next person? If he gave you the free will, you should already know that yourself, right? Yeah, like I hope that point of mine makes sense. I don't know how to best word it, but if it brings you closer to God because he told you to be modest, then fine. But bringing up the fact that hey, wearing this will make me a better person, be a kinder person, help people. You should already be doing that. You shouldn't need a scarf to tell you to be nice to the person next to you, or you shouldn't need a cross to tell you don't steal, don't kill your neighbor, or don't kill the person next to you, don't sleep with your neighbor's wife. You shouldn't need a cross to tell you that stuff.
On the other hand, I think that historically you actually do need to do that, because I don't think that there exists really an objective morality outside of society.
Yeah, in an idealistic world, I would say you shouldn't need some threat of a supernatural being in the threat of burning an eternal fire for you to be
I
a
think
nice
that
person to next to you.
I actually think that we have replaced the threat from religion in the West, mostly by the threat of the centralized strong state.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'll play it and we can continue as well.
But we can continue that.
Yeah.
Hello.
Your religion, your
Hello, Hawaii.
Hawaii.
faith.
You make me think really deep about that, because I've been struggling. I wore it when I was about 15. I tried it out, but it's been a struggle because internally I want to be a better Muslima, that I'm going to represent to society before my outer side represents Islam.
I face discrimination for my religion. 3, 2.
Yeah, and I think I have something to say about this as well. I moved to North America a few weeks after, or a few months after 9/11, actually. So I can attest that there was a lot of racism and discrimination at that time. And my parents were working in the States and lived in Canada. So every time they would cross the border, they would get racist remarks. And that's actually one of the reasons we took jobs in Canada instead of working in America after that. So yeah, so this is an area where I think I have a special foot in the, or a bet in the pool.
2, 1.
Though I'm not a traditional Muslim female, I don't wear the scarf. When I was younger, I'd be walking home from the masjid with my mom. She wears the hijab. This was before September 11th even happening. She would get teenagers in cars driving by, spitting on us, cursing at us.
Oh yeah, well this was the 90s, right? Like tossing people into lockers was acceptable then.
Oh, yes. Then
Yeah, this was.
I grew up in the 90s.
Yeah, we all needed a Ralph Macchio to come and protect us during fights.
She would always say, just brush it off.
When you show that you're a Muslim in any way, people kind of like you get those glances every so often. But what happened was that after all this election things happened, it's funny, people who you grew up with, people who you knew your entire lives are kind of looking at you a little differently. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. I was like, wait a second, you know me. I didn't think this would be an issue.
I personally have not experienced explicit discrimination. I conveniently can shave my beard and try to compensate almost, and it's sad to admit, but I know it's not my job to create a comfort space for another person. However, I would say that if you do guys confront it explicitly, try to think of it as an opportunity to teach as opposed to reacting with emotion.
I think it also depends on what the encounter is. I had a
Yeah, if it's outwardly this is one thing I was always told: if someone's being a dickhead to you, it's 90% of the times not you. They're taking their anger out on that they have on someone else onto you. And this is in customer service, right? That I learned it. So half the time, if someone's genuinely asking me a question, but it seems to be somewhat of a racist question, racist in big air quotes, I'll answer the question because like the only reason why they're asking that question is because no one actually told them, right? So if I take 5 minutes to explain it to them, they're gonna be less racist. But I also have the option of being like, that's a racist question, and like get mad at them for that, file harassment claims, and ruin their life. And it's I can either take the more peaceful option or the more extreme option. But if someone's genuinely like threatening me, like with pocket knife and shit, like yeah, no, we're calling the cops on that moment. But if someone's like making a statement or something out of ignorance that comes off as racist, you have the option
Talking
of
about
either
the
talking.
anti-racist debate,
Yeah.
Sweden is currently in, there is this trend going on Twitter where Sweden is considered racist because in Sweden you don't invite people to dinner usually. And I am just, flabbergasted because it has nothing to do with racism. It's just that Swedes do not practice hospitality, really.
Yeah.
It's not something we do in the same way that other peoples do. If hospitality is practiced, it's not one person, but it's like the entire, the entire community welcomes one person. You don't welcome one in and give food alone. That's why you almost never have a Swede inviting someone over to dinner. Even
Yeah.
when they are visiting your house. And they said, this is so strange. Why do the Swedish people eat and not offer me any food when I'm a guest? They say, yeah, but that's actually natural in Sweden.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
a
like some
strange
people.
custom. I know
Yeah.
because I, have been outside of Sweden and talked with non-Swedes a lot. So I know how strange this is, but it's just a cultural thing. It has nothing to do with racism. So sometimes those things can be interpreted as racism because why aren't they inviting me? Why
Yeah,
are
no, it's one of those things where it's kind of odd, but like if it's a culture, it's a culture, right?
yeah.
And it's not meant to be taken. You gotta at some point you gotta compromise and mix with the religion. When in Rome, be Roman, right?
Yeah, but in order to mix, you also sometimes need to be a little bit open-minded that things that
Yeah,
seem bad to you might not be so bad or even intentionally bad at you, but just generally
yeah. Because
something that
If Daniel Hakikachu comes to Toronto, especially downtown Toronto, I think he'll have a heart attack and die. All right, so I'll play the video as well now.
Beer bottle thrown at me after 9/11. I'm not going to go confront that person and be like, hey, let's build bridges.
Right.
Like, it's not, no. But if there's
But
someone
yeah,
who's
I
going
had a similar incident as well. Not a beer bottle, but a knife. Yeah, it's not a story that we should be talking about publicly.
Well, one funny thing is that I have a bit of a dark on the darker side of Swedish person. I am a Swedish person with I can trace my ancestry back in Sweden really far. So I'm a pure Swedish person, but I'm on the darker side. All right,
Yeah.
you know how white persons can be that are a little bit on the dark side.
Yeah.
And I also speak Arabic with my friends. You can guess what has happened sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's and sometimes like some of these fights just come out of nowhere and like you don't know why they're doing it. Then when you understand it's like, oh, that makes sense. But like half the time like it's not like in the movies where they announce why they're doing it initially and then do it. Like you don't know what the hell happened. You're just trying to get out of the situation and then you realize slowly, oh, this happened.
So I realized that racism is a real issue for some people, but it's also not that, it depends very much on situation and on person.
Yeah.
You can't just assume that all Swedish peoples are racist or the opposite, or that all white people are racist or all other people.
Yeah, no,
But
I remember.
the most funny thing when someone was racist against me was actually pretty recently, when I got told by people like doubly racist. Oh, hey, hello, Nim Grace.
Hello, Nim Grace. Yeah.
And I get the doubly told that because the other person assumed that I was an Arab because I had been chatting with another person in Arabic. They didn't even see me, but if they had seen me, they might have still assumed it. But anyway, because due to my beard and my rather dark hair, anyway, they just assumed that I was an Arabic person. And I argued for something that I said, that a lot of the problems of the Middle East is not due to foreign colonialism, but it's because of internal issues that was there even before colonialism. These are issues that were systemic even before, and they did get worse by colonialism, but they are still, present, and there needs to be done internal reform. And then this person comes there and says, "Oh, but you have you have adopted white man thinking." And the thinking of the white man. And then this person begins to explain how I should act, can't even speak Arabic, can't even know anything about Arab world, and speaks down like if, all Arab were like these retarded, cavemen almost. And it was directed towards me. And then also says that if I'm trying to act better, then I'm acting white, and that also makes me bad.
Yeah, I actually had like two funny incidents in so I'm currently in Toronto. Moose and I are neighbors, and uh there's this incident where one of my friends is in Brampton, which is a heavily Muslim dominated area, and he was working at a KFC because we were students at the time. He was doing a night shift, graveyard shift. Some junkie was high and came in and like tried to rob this guy at gunpoint. This guy was like, my friend calls me and he's like, "Yo, I think I was a part of a racist attack." And I'm like, "What? Tell me what happened." This guy was like, "Oh, this guy tried to rob me, pointed a gun at me," and I'm like, "Bitch, he was high as a kite. He probably couldn't tell what color you were. He just wanted the money for more drugs."
Yeah.
So like some people misinterpret it, but then I also had this racism on my own personal level, where one of my friends was in America, and he was doing an interview on racism. This was like during the George Floyd incident, and he wanted to ask me about the racism that I experienced. I didn't have my video camera set up; it was only my voice. And if it's just by my voice, you can't tell that I'm foreign. I have a pretty Canadian or North American accent. And this lady or professor was like, "Your white, your white opinion of racism doesn't matter." And I text my friend who's hosting the podcast to watch this, and I turn on my video camera. And I'm like, "Say what now?" And she
It's
turns,
hilarious.
yeah, and she's like, "Huh?" And I'm like, "Take a look at my face, sweetheart. This isn't a year-round tan." And we had like a massive debate for like, I believe it was like 45 minutes, to a point where like the guy had to like take down the podcast. But yeah, Nim Grace, nice story of yours as well. I'll share it here. But yeah, it's I tend to have the same mentality. If like the guy's not trying to stab me, I won't let that guy's like head bust moment try to ruin my day. It's none of my concern why he's like that. But yeah, let's continue with what these guys got to say.
Yeah, let's continue.
A little bit of an attitude or, misconception. I'll work on that.
Women are equal to men. 3.
There's an actual hadith, or I believe that says,
La.
yeah, that says the testimony of a woman is half of that of a man.
2, 1.
Yes.
I'm gonna somewhat change mine.
Wow.
I had to think about it.
So the reason I sit on agree and not strongly agree is that my understanding of human beings is that that women and men in general have different roles. You know, men cannot bear children, women do. In Islam, there's no discriminatory thing. There's nothing that a man can do that a woman cannot.
And I don't have to prove otherwise.
Except that what you just said about being a witness is actually true.
Yeah, like there's
A woman
no
is hot.
intellectual. Yeah, there's no intellectual difference between a man and a woman. The brains are equal, right? But it's a matter
There
of
are actually, you know, studies that shows that the bell curve distribution is different.
yeah,
Men
but like
tend to have more stupid people and more geniuses, but on the average, they are the same as women.
yeah, it's but at the end of the day, like a woman isn't half of that of a man, because like
No, definitely not.
yeah, and when there's an actual hadith that says, or I believe it's a hadith that says that, we have a big problem here. All right.
Except to cite in the Quran when Allah addresses us, believing men and believing women. Same level.
No, disagree.
I read the Quran.
Verbatim.
So you can't tell me.
This, in the court of law, the
no.
Quran explicitly states
I'm sorry.
2 female witnesses carry
I'm
the weight of
sorry.
1 male. And
I'm
that's why
sorry.
Oh shit! This guy said that. He's so honest. Props to this guy. I'd fist bump him if it wasn't for his broken wrist.
Nim Grace, I don't think that that's a good thing to say. Even if we disagree with Muslims, it's better to, you know, face them with arguments rather than petty insults.
Yeah, like
Calling someone half brain does not solve these issues.
Yeah, but like the woman in the purple, like I mentioned, she's getting very emotional in this stuff. Like what this guy said was the truth. If they are equal in the religion, why is her testimony worth half?
I personally feel, and if it were up to me, it would be 50-50. There is no discrimination on my personal bias, but
why are you standing there?
I'm acknowledging that the Quran prescribes something here, right?
No.
In Islam, we do get equal opportunities.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Scientifically, no, we're not equal. Because
No.
men can...
You even inherit less.
Yeah.
You do not get the same opportunities. You also need to be accompanied by a mahram, depending on your you know, status and where you are going. You have to get permission from your husband in certain, or your father in certain situations. You have to get the permission of your father when it comes to marriage. And there are a lot of things.
I was just saying, I want to facepalm so hard because of what she said. Yeah, no, you were saying something, Culture Jim.
No, I was not. I had finished.
And do things physically that we can't do.
May I ask a question?
Women can do things that men can't do. So my question would be, what aspect are we discussing?
Sure, if personal belief versus Islamic belief versus societal belief, that's 3 different things. If I'm saying personally, I believe women can be greater than men. I believe women have...
Islam says that.
However, can we acknowledge...
Where does it say that? Where is the source? This guy he might not provide the exact quote, but
إن يصدم القرآن أو أي حديث أو أي سيرة عن ذلك. يا إلهي.
Yeah.
تتكلم عن جهل. لا تفهم شيئا.
Yeah.
Islam promotes that completely, yeah.
You can be Muslim and part of the LGBT community.
No, you cannot.
3, 2, 1.
Why are they strongly agreeing to this?
It's such a broad question that I'm gonna stand here just to be on the safe side.
I'm a contradictory human being. I pray with one hand and commit sin with the other. So I'm not in a position to be able to tell somebody that they're excluded from a whole faith if perhaps their faith in God is stronger than mine.
Okay, so you can be anything and be a Muslim, but I guess the reason I'm standing here is because Islam is a lot about the progression of the human race and about what is natural and what is not. Islam doesn't necessarily support like the lifestyle of the LGBT community. However, they do support them as human beings, and that is something like it's something that I've struggled with because they have my 100% love and support. I take a bullet for anybody. I don't care
Why is
what
she
their sexual
crying?
or
Why is she crying?
أتكلم عما يقول القرآن والأحاديث عن أهل اللوط.
Yeah, no, it's she.
Oh, sorry, I'm mumbling in Arabic because it's
Yeah.
just. I'm
Yeah, no,
sitting
I
here
was.
and actually reading some Arabic things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was just thinking, like, why is she crying here? Like, say your statement, lady.
my best friend, he's
I'm not praying in Arabic. I'm mumbling in Arabic.
Yeah, no, her tears turned you into a Muslim.
he's gay, and we've had these conversations before, and he's told me that, you know what, Husna, I love you for you. I love you for everything that we've been through together.
But she's gonna go. The sad reality is that one of my friends, he said, put this in the most harsh way possible, but in a certain way, I kind of agree with him. Where my friend who does a lot of good things, but is gay, goes to hell, but someone who doesn't do as many good things, but is religious, will go to heaven. And just because she was born in a certain way doesn't mean she goes to hell. So it's a very tough situation where she was born that way, and that shouldn't be held against her. The same way if she was born black or Indian.
I don't care what it is that you stand for, and that's, it's really comforting to know that you don't have to support a lifestyle to support a human being, to love a human being, and to love people unconditionally.
You would support.
I love.
Alltså, Jesus, so God or hell, whatever. I mean, I think that this woman actually genuinely believes what she's saying. Or she is a very good actor. Because, I mean, people believe in things that are contradictory all the time.
Yeah, it's like, but this proves to me that these guys, most of them are arguing from an emotional standpoint rather than a logical standpoint.
Yes.
Because she made a good logical point, but she didn't have to cry to make this point that she's making.
What you said, yeah, and that's why I'm here, because the prompt was, can you be LGBTQ and Muslim? And yes, you can be anything and Muslim. If we're going to get into the logistics of lifestyle practices and the core of scripture, yes, there are different lifestyles or things that are asked for in scripture, but there's nothing that says they are not welcome in the faith, they are not welcome in our houses of worship, they cannot pray, they cannot stand beside us, they don't fast. They are people.
It's very hard, I would say, to be a Muslim and, part of the community.
Yeah. I agree.
Get away from her, you sinner. Wear a hijab first. Cover up this forearm.
With you. Beautiful statement.
I am American. 3, 2, 1.
I strongly disagree. I'm Canadian.
I swear I'm not trying to make this controversial, but I somewhat disagree because I'm first Afghan. Then I would say I'm American.
So I do identify as Syrian first. And so what is America? So for me, that identity, because I grew up not feeling like a minority. And I was always proud American. I didn't talk about my Syrian heritage. I wasn't familiar with it. And then the last decade, it was like, whoa, I kind of whitewashed my history to be the proud American, to fit in. And everyone was like, if you took off your scarf, you'd be just another white girl. It's just, there's a battle. Like, I'm proud American, but it's like, what does American mean right now?
Yeah.
With everything that's happening.
As a Muslim who just happens to be black in America, I've never not known this to be my country, because
Yes.
that's what this country was founded
Yep,
on.
that's my
Being
heritage.
able to be who you are, having the freedom to be that and not feel persecuted. And so, yeah, that's how I live my life. And I'm not.
And that's a great thing. And I think that in the religious sects around the world, that's not that right isn't given to a lot of people. Because let's say I want to be a Jew in Saudi Arabia, would I be given the same right?
No, you would be killed
Yeah. Or
because you are just apostated from Islam.
or I'd have to pay out my penis to the jizya tax.
Going to
No,
let anybody.
because the Jews and Christians are technically not allowed on the Arabic, peninsula, but on the other hand, they are
Yeah.
practically.
Force me or talk me into thinking differently.
So who wants to have coffee and continue this conversation?
Yeah, let's go to Starbucks.
I love how you always bring up another side to it. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, no. So, who was your favorite person in this discussion?
Oh, it was the honest guy.
Yeah, the cast guy, right? He was very honest about it.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I actually is somewhat. I'm not saying that Islamists necessarily are better persons, but those that are, very clear with, oh, I follow this religion and I'm going to follow every little rule I can find.
Yeah, it's someone who's able to everyone's like for me, at least my opinion, everyone's been given a blue medal.
I like
growing up.
coherency and
Yeah.
people that are honest.
Yeah, it's a matter of being able to look into yourself and give a critique about not only identifying what's good, but what also requires improvement. And none of these guys did that 100%, but the dude with the cast, I think, was showing that skill a bit more than the others, where he was able to look at the other side. Whereas the girl in the purple was like, no, I read it every day. You're not allowed to say that. And it's like, let the guy make his point. He's being critical of something that should be thought of in a critical manner. It's not like he's denying, he knows the good stuff about it. He's saying the good stuff, but he's also saying what the negative is or what can be brought out as negative. But anyways, yeah. Any closing statements, Culture Jin?
Oh, I just found this to, be kind of showing a picture of more moderate Muslims and how they view the world in different questions.
Yeah, and for me, I think I was one of these guys, I'd say, in my college days, so until I was 20-ish. And I think that's the demographic, right? These guys are between 20 to 25, 27-ish.
Yes.
But when I was 20, that's, or at least in college, until second or third year, until I went from being a agnostic, religious person to an agnostic, I was one of these people. But anyways, yeah. Hope this was a good addition to the show, the midweek discussion. How was it?
Oh, it was kind of improvised because I just saw that you had it and went on it. It's actually, I think, pretty late, and I just need to go to bed soon.
For sure, yeah. Then we'll end it now. But like, I'm gonna be continuing to make midweek broadcasts at this time to get more
Yeah.
videos. Anyways, I see you on the Saturday show.
Yeah, hopefully.
See ya.
See ya.